Hello, welcome to our phone in. We're talking today about the way we socialise. Has your social life changed in recent years? And if it has, why? Call us on 03700 100 444. There are some shifts in our habits, and the big one is that we don't go to the pub as much as we did. We stay home more now, especially at night. Pete Brown studies these trends. He's an author, a journalist, a broadcaster, and a consultant specialising in food and drink. And he writes a weekly beer column for the Sunday Times. So, Pete, you're a busy man. Do you get out much, though?
Indeed. Yes, I do. I mean, it's a tough job, but someone's got to do it. I have to go to the pub for my job.
Okay,
so I'm in the pub sort of four or so days a week.
OK, well, Pete, just join in this conversation when you want to. Your mic's open. I will come back to you, though. Obviously, there are lots of factors at play. We've had some emails about it already to you and yours at bbc.co.uk. This one from Richard Warner. He says, I was a pub regular most nights until the 23rd of March 2020, pandemic. I had been a regular social alcohol drinker from the age of 18, when that was 1976. Haven't drunk alcohol since. Didn't set out to stop drinking. Wasn't my objective, but the pandemic inadvertently gave me that impetus. Another one about the pandemic again, Dan Platten. The pandemic transformed my life in two big ways. I gave up singing, playing my guitar as an entertainer on the East Anglian circuit for 30 plus years. Main reasons, lack of money. So tell us where you are with this. Has your social life changed? If it has, why? Here's that number again, 03700 100 444. We've got some callers already. Linda Gage in Yeovil, Graham Bates in Reading, and Vivian Neal in South Yorkshire. Hi all, and thanks all. Linda, tell us about you then. How has your social life changed?
Well, I relocated to Somerset some 10 plus years ago from London and was so impressed with the social life here in terms of live bands playing in a lot of the local pubs and venues. And I had a wonderful life socialising. And then, of course, won the smoking ban, and then COVID closed down, I would say, 95% of these venues, meaning we had nowhere to go and dance and listen to live music.
So what do you do now, Linda? Tell us what you do now for social life. Or what do you do in the evenings when you would have been at the pub?
I stay at home and watch DVDs, which is incredibly tiresome. But I substitute now. I go on holiday. I go off on cruises and land tours for as long as I can when I'm retired, and have a social life away from my local community.
So the money that you would have spent in the local pub, you'll now save it and you go on a cruise instead? Yeah. Graham, how about you? So go on, finish, Linda.
Well, it's just it seems that the younger generation don't demand this, whereas in my day, the Saturday night dance was the be-all and end-all of real life. But now that's gone away, and even there aren't clubs for young people, and I feel very sorry for them because they're limiting their social activities.
Pete,
and also not getting fit.
Pete Brown, why are we staying home so much? You heard what Linda said. She said, a lot of the pubs locally have closed and there's no live music. But generally, people are staying home even where they do have a good choice of pubs to go to. What's happened to us?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the pandemic changed a lot of habits. On the one hand, in the pub, things are getting more expensive. Just about everything you can think of, energy costs, raw ingredient costs for beer, packaging costs for beer, they're all going up. And pubs are doing their best not to pass that on to the drinker, but they can't help put the prices up. They're struggling to stay in business. And then if you compare that with what we're like at home, compared to 20 years ago, we have, bigger TV screens, streaming services, gourmet meals delivered to your door in 20 minutes. Staying at home has become a lot more attractive and a lot cheaper than going to the pub.
Graham, tell us about you then. Is your social life what it was, or has it changed?
Oh, hello. Well, it's very similar in that I'm pining for a venue that closed, a music and cafe venue that closed instead in town, and I've got a review of it from something called The Ding in front of me. It says at the time, it's the global cafe is a bright, relaxed cafe bar, very busy, serving food and drink. There are tables and chairs on the pavement outside. Most evenings there is live music get packed with punters spilling out to the street. But Silver Heels, that's one of the bands that was quite regular. Some other gigs, local swing dancers fill the tiny dance space.
Graham, it's not a great line, but you're reading it. It's not a great line, just for listeners struggling to hear. You're reading a review of a venue in Reading that you used to love. What's happened to it?
Yes. Okay, well, during lockdown, we all thought, I suppose, that things would eventually return to normal, but this never opened. Global Cafe is was part of a building which is run by something called Reading International Solidarity Campaign, and it's got meeting rooms and things around it, and upstairs and a world products shop next to it. But the Global Cafe next to that, and it was, as I say, a cafe during the day and often a live music venue during the night. But one of the social aspects of it was that the one night a month, there was a jam. You could go in and play, as long as you knew what you were doing. People used to come from as far as Oxford and London, maybe, to come and jam on that night as well. And there wasn't a stage, and it's not like there was a covers band playing in the corner or on a stage at the back of the venue, or like in a pub. The musicians played at the front, and you had to sometimes almost squeeze past them to get in. And afterwards, and during the breaks and that, you could talk to them. It was very, very sociable. And as I say, perhaps on a Saturday night, there'd be one loud band downstairs, like one band by a guy called Hugh Turner, who had this very loud acid jazz funk band downstairs, and there'd be like upstairs in one of the rooms there'd be a salsa dance night.
It sounds fantastic, Graham. I can understand why you miss it. This is Call You and Yours. We're asking, has your social life changed in recent years? If it has, why? Here's the number: 03700 100 444. And Vivian, I know that you used to be a pub regular and you no longer are. Tell us why.
Well, I distinctly remember the exhortation to stay home. It was extraordinary, like nothing I'd ever experienced, and it almost felt like we were preparing for madness. A reminder of Terry Nation's 1974 dystopian TV thriller, Survivors. I don't know if anyone remembers that. And when I heard the news, I immediately felt it's important to plan and be active, so I kind of went into keep calm and carry on mode, I suppose. I made timetables to decorate, tidy, sort, set different times during the day for a variety of activities, and just kept busy. And that was fine, but the problem is all those habits, I'm afraid, have simply stuck. So I feel that my world has shrunk, even though I work predominantly from home. There doesn't seem to be much point in going out. I mean, even if you go out to the pub, there seems to be little point paying nearly £3 for a bottle of mineral water, and that adds a big fat nothing to one you could have had at home. Because
I suppose it's the company. You were just going to say. I was just going to say that the point of being in the pub is the company, but you're saying there's nobody there.
No, I mean, we went out for a colleague's leaving do, and there were 5 of us, and we were the only people in that premises. And so it feels weird, and you think, why are we here? We could be anywhere else. And that, I think, is really sad because, where I lived in the southeast on the London-Kent border, in a mile walk, I could name 7 pubs. And I still could if you asked me. And there were so many of them. And, on a Sunday, for example, there was a pub called the Rose and Crown at the end of our line of terraced houses. We'd go in there and we'd eat cubes of cheese, pickled onions, salted peanuts, drink, be merry. There would be, Irish songs. You'd have to squeeze past everyone to go to the loo or get to the bar. And it was a real experience. And I really miss those things. It does appear to have been lost for all the reasons that we talked about earlier.
Linda, what do you feel that you have lost most? I know you said that you're getting a bit of your social life back through going on these cruises, but in your day-to-day life, what do you miss about the days before COVID when you would be in the pub every Friday and Saturday?
Well, the sociability. I mean, it's as simple as that. It's not about the alcohol, but it's about being able to, get dressed up, as they say, and go out and meet people you wouldn't otherwise meet for a brief period of time and feel like you've had a good evening out. There is just, unfortunately, nowhere, as that lady was saying, people aren't going out as much, and there isn't that sociability, it seems, within any generation. I mean, I'm an older generation, but I don't understand why young people aren't demanding places to go to just let off steam. It's not about alcohol, it's also about having a bit of activity, dancing, which is very good for you. Don't understand them.
Pete Brown, market researchers have tracked this shift, haven't they? Now, they track it as a shift from the pub to the restaurant. Tell us about that.
People still go out to eat. We're still on first dates. They're nearly always in restaurants. It's the other thing about that is that they're more planned occasions. What we're losing is the spontaneity of just popping to the pub for a pint just when it seems like a good idea. And a meal out is one. You're booking it. You're getting ready. You're looking forward to it. So and whatever we do, we still have to eat.
Yeah, that's just really interesting. Let me bring in Martin Prescott because we've got him up on the line. He's in Hertfordshire. Now, Martin is the founder and director of Norwood Pubs chain, and it's very successful. I'm sorry, Nutwood Pubs chain. It's a very successful chain. Martin, what do you observe? We've got Linda and Vivian still on the line. When they go to the pub, they're disappointed with it. It's empty. How do you make it work?
Well, thank you for having me, Winifred.
You're welcome.
I listen to what people say, and I'm the same. I understand things are tight. They're tight for everybody. But one of the things we do with Nutwood Pubs, and one of the things I look forward to personally, is to go somewhere where I can meet friends, I can feel comfortable, I can feel relaxed, And those sort of things are what we're trying to promote in Nutwood pubs. Pardon me. The whole business about you go to a pub and there's no other people there, I understand that entirely. And we try and make the balance between, obviously, cost. We have to keep our cost as low as we possibly can, but then we also have to pay our bills. But there's always more to going to a pub than just simply having to drink alcohol. I myself, I'm not a big alcohol drinker. Most of the time I'm driving, so, I won't drink, but there's plenty of soft drinks I can have. The meals, we are very, very strong on our food offer. And that means that people can come and they can have a snack at the bar, they can meet their friends. I mean, one of our customers, I've never forgotten, he said to me ages ago, he said, you come to one of your pubs and the second time you're here, you're like a member of the family. So it's a great feeling.
Martin, can I ask you about what Vivian was talking about? And it maybe this is a kind of memory like, that Christmas was always wonderful. But Vivian remembers going to pubs in groups and she remembers, people giving a song and that sort of thing, feeling like you're part of a family. We heard, didn't we, Graham, how much he regrets that loss of that live music venue where you could go there and jam and you could meet other musicians. Is there anything like that in your pubs? Will that ever come back?
Oh yeah, no, we do that. We hold open mic nights. We had a little folk night the other night, or sort of country folk night at one of the pubs the other night. It's a complete freebie. We don't charge people to come and see it, and it's just something extra we can give. We as an organisation, we try and keep things as local as possible. So we would employ local musicians. We get local people coming in, and we have craft groups. We have knitting circles. We have all sorts of things to make people feel comfortable. We are not what you would consider to be a traditional pub in the sense it's not the sort of corner boozer where you have to sit there all night, drinking pint after pint.
Can you still make money from
that?
You can still make money from that, can you, Martin?
Well, sometimes it feels like we're running a charity, but we do actually manage to pay the bills.
Yeah.
We've just actually taken on a third pub, which some people thought that we perhaps needed our heads examined, but we've opened the doors on a pub that was shut for a year and a half, and it's been heaving every time we've been there. And it's so, so comforting to go to a place where people are saying, this is lovely to have somewhere we can go, we can meet our friends. They don't have to spend a fortune. They can just be there and enjoy the atmosphere.
So you've only got 3 pubs?
We've only got 3 at the moment.
Small chain,
we have a 4th one coming on very soon, which, funnily enough, is a predominantly live music venue because we think we need something like that to add to the group.
Linda, do you think you could be tempted back out again if the offer was right?
Absolutely. And, I mean, personally, I'd be willing to pay a little bit extra for the live music or karaoke, whatever it might be, because, I know that they do have to pay for these bands. I mean, people aren't going to do it for nothing, but and that would be fine by
Vivian,
me.
what do you think?
I'm not convinced. I think that sometimes, the focus, for example, on food in pubs mean that if you want to go in just for a drink, you're almost taking up table space that's more valuable to the publican, and you don't feel desperately welcome, to be honest.
How do you get around so let Martin answer. How do you get around that, Martin?
Well, we have different areas within the pub, but I'm horrified at the thought that somebody who would be coming in with some friends for a drink would feel unwelcome. That's absolutely not the case. And just on a purely financial point, food is costly to produce because we have obviously staff in kitchens, we have all the health and safety, all the various regulations we have to and want to comply with. It's actually, frankly, it's a lot cheaper to pour a pint of beer and give that to somebody. So we would never try and stop people coming in just for a quiet drink, and it doesn't even have to be an alcoholic drink. But you make your guest made a fair point that it all has to be paid for one way or another. But it's a balance, and if you can get that balance, and if you can be prepared to take a long-term view and keep your prices as low as possible to get more people in, then you're creating that atmosphere because a group of people together will create an atmosphere of their own. And I entirely understand. I think it was Linda who said earlier on she doesn't want to go to a pub where she's the only person there. I get that. I understand that entirely. So we always make a point of trying to encourage as many people as possible. And, of course, our staff are very friendly. We try and learn people's names. We try and learn their favourite drinks. It's very much a sort of home from home, which is the whole point of what we try to do as Nutwood pubs.
Vivian, sorry, I interrupted you. You were saying?
No, I just feel that this is a big punctuation point in as much that I've got to plan to go out with a group of friends to celebrate a birthday or an anniversary or what have you. And gone are the days of just chucking your coat on, walking down to the pub and seeing who was there. And so it was a more spontaneous thing. It's a comma rather than a full stop, if you like.
Yeah. Vivian, Linda, Martin Prescott, thanks all for that. Thank you. How has your social life changed in recent years and why? What do you do now that you didn't used to do? What have you stopped doing? Please get in touch. Here's that number again, 03700 100 444, or you can email us, you and yours, at bbc.co.uk. You can also text us to 84844. We've got loads of messages coming in. Sometimes people who have shifted, are doing new kinds of stuff. this one from Sarah Richardson in North Yorkshire. She said, since the lockdowns, I've joined a Scottish dance group in North Yorkshire. I dance now twice a week. And on most Saturdays, I dance with a live band. This one, just no name given, but by text. Most of my friends have kids and are parents, but since COVID, my social group and the amount we see each other has just declined drastically. I see my close group of friends a few times a month now. It seems to be a few times a year, and it feels like I have little spare energy. They would rather stay at home. We'd all rather stay at home. Sarah Eaton. I love music, theatre and cinema, but a lot of the good stuff happens at night when I am exhausted. I have occasions when the theatre seating has been incredibly painful to sit in because it's on a sloped floor. So much to consider. Going to new places is stressful. Where are the loos? And will I be able to sit down if it's a gig? I don't like standing for too long, and I fear that it will finish too late. Pete, that's so interesting, isn't it? This business about the nighttime economy, the fact that people no longer want to go out or will so readily go out at night. What's happened there?
Yeah, I mean, my wife runs a literary festival in Stoke Newington in London, and before the pandemic, you'd look at ticket sales for an event, and then you'd add 50% on for walk-ups, and it worked like clockwork. Now, we look at the ticket sales on the day, and you take about 20% off for people who've bought tickets and just don't show up. So we saw that change immediately happen pre and post lockdown, and I feel the same sometimes. You know, when I used to live in London, you're going to a gig on the other side of town, and you think, all right, it's going to be finishing at 20 to 11. I've got to get 2 trains and a bus back, and we've got so used to being at home, and also it's a high stakes thing. So when we do go out, if it's going to be more expensive, we're definitely more risk averse than we used to be.
Yeah, because money's tighter because things cost more. Yeah.
Yeah, and because it costs more, you don't want to kind of risk it being not getting what you wanted. So when a pint used to be a couple of quid, if you got a bad pint, you just chalked it up to experience. Now if you're paying sort of 15 quid for a cocktail, or I mean the price of concert gig tickets these days is utterly insane.
Yes, hundreds of pounds.
Yeah. So you're not going to risk that much if you're not absolutely sure that it's going to be good.
The other thing is that people are doing different things, as we just heard. We heard from the pub chain owner. People want to do different stuff in the pub. They have craft clubs and all that, and also people don't drink as much as they did, and they want to do healthier things. Let me bring in Simon Borkin. He's in Stretford in Manchester, and also Esther St Louis, who's in West London. Now, both of you, I think, do things that are more sporty. So, Simon, tell us what you do.
Yeah, so I suppose frequent quite a few running clubs in South Manchester, and what's been really nice is there's a big social focus. So running is part of it, but actually you start and end in a pub or a place where you can meet, and actually there's a strong social basis. So we kind of organise socials when there are the big kind of running, the half marathons and the marathons. We'll organise cheer stations and celebrations together. So it's actually, the running is obviously something that people share as a hobby or a passion, but it's also a really good way to meet people and have a bit of common ground.
Simon,
and there's so much happening.
The atmosphere at some of those marathons is just wonderful, isn't it? It's euphoric. It's uplifting. It's better than a pint.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, actually, exercise has such a powerful effect on people's health.
But even the people watching, you just feel you're part of something wonderful when you watch a marathon.
Yeah, and I think that's also what running clubs do, is that not everyone's running all the races all the time, but you can be part of the cheering squad and make the signs and meet people afterwards. So you get that kind of extra. So even if you're not running, you get that added value of being there and supporting people and knowing what people, when they need support.
Simon, do you still go for a drink together?
Yes, there's definitely a drinking element. I mean, what's nice is I'll often get a non-alcoholic beer after a run because that's got some isotonic benefits anyway.
Of course.
But yeah, I think it is people want to socialise, but actually it doesn't all have to be focused on just alcohol or drinking it. And actually, sometimes if you're meeting new people, it's nice to have an entry point. And actually, running is there's so much to talk about. Like, there's all the different tribes in the running club. You could be a fell runner, or you might enjoy track. Or you might be a road runner, and you'll find kind of your tribe within that running club as well.
Esther, tell us what you do. I think that you've joined a walking group. Is that right?
Yeah, no, I go on organised walks, kind of London and South East, so sort of 5-10 miles at a time. But it's a really good combination of casually walking, meeting new people during the walk, exercise. You're outside, and then you meet a group of people. And at the end, actually, then there's an offer to go for a meal or a pint, or other people just wander off home. And it's just a really good social experience. So it's kind of well-rounded in terms of exercise and, fresh air and meeting people.
What would you have done in the past?
Well, sort of pre-pandemic, I would have gone out after work drinking in a pub, but I've been working remotely for the last 6 years. So
that can be so lonely, can't it, the remote working?
Yeah, absolutely. And it changes your whole kind of perspective. And then you suddenly feel like you're becoming quite insulated. So I had to make a conscious effort to go outside at the weekends, particularly to craft a social life for myself that wasn't tied to the computer.
So before working from home, you would have just had a spontaneous drink with colleagues, would you?
Yeah, drink with colleagues, and then it was much more social orientated, and people would buy rounds, and you'd sort of stay for the longevity in the evening. But I think now, with the cost of alcohol and drinks in the pub, I notice people, even when they go out individually, so there's not really that collective sort of social part of it. Well, there is, but most people just say, "I'll just go stay for one, and then I'll go." People don't buy rounds anymore.
Do you think that's to do with money? We just don't have as much money as we did. We feel, because of inflation.
Yeah, cost of living, and it's surreal just to go out or to plan. I mean, it could be the budget for maybe once a month, whereas maybe 5-10 years ago it was something that you could do a couple of nights, every week.
How about you, Simon? Do you think that money's a factor? The reason you're just stopping maybe for one non-alcoholic lager after your runs.
Oh, yeah, I think people are obviously more mindful that going out can be an expensive pursuit, and I think if you can combine it with like an activity that's essentially free, so running with a group, then it just means that you get that the benefit of exercise and meeting people, but you're just not spending as much time in the pub, and maybe then you're just maybe not spending as much. But what's really good about running in groups is that there's quite an emphasis on running at conversational pace. So you are actually talking to people while you're out. It's not just you've got your head down.
Yeah, it's
and
lovely.
So you're getting all the social interaction actually while you're out running on the streets.
Let me bring another caller in, Ella Tetty, who is in Glasgow. She just come through just while we were talking. Ella, I know you're in your third year at university and that you also have joined clubs, a running club, an arts and crafts club. Tell us what you used to do and why you made the shift.
Well, during first year of uni, it was predominantly drinking-based activities, just going to the pub or just going out, finding any way to go clubbing, really. And then second year, it's expensive here in Glasgow, I'm not going to lie. Like, average £6.50 a pint if you're going to the West End. So it's always a really spenny night out. And second year, I started focusing more on my fitness. And I started running on my own and then went to a few running clubs. But I joined the Mountaineering Society at my uni, actually, and that was also because I heard about the walking groups and the running groups. This is also quite a nice fitness-based group where we go up to the Highlands, we go walking, have a little chat to everyone, and then come back down, and it's just a very nice social thing. But I understand that's not accessible to everyone, really.
And how does it compare, Ella, would you say, the things you do now with the time when you could afford to drink all the time? Or maybe not afford it, but that was your habit.
Yeah, I couldn't necessarily afford it. It's nice. I wake up the next morning without a hangover or a headache, which is great. And my friend, like arts and crafts night. So I mentioned to my friend at work that I crochet. And she invited me over one day and we started crocheting together. And it's kind of developed further over the last year where we meet once a week, we go do little crochet here, painting there, some stitching here. It's a very nice way, and then we've got other people in work involved. So once a week, a bunch of people from work, we all come together, we go do a little arts and crafts night. And it's quite nice because we've got something to show for it as well, rather than just a depleted bank account.
Pete Brown, our expert on pub culture, the young we don't drink as much as we did, do we? We spend the same amount on alcohol, but when we're drinking, we tend to drink better. That's what the market researchers say. But also the young people like Ella at university, they don't drink as much as their parents, do they?
No, I think this is it's sort of like a pendulum thing. My generation, when I was young, we were always drinking, probably quite a bit too much. And I think if you grow up experiencing that, you don't want to do that when you're an adult. But it tends to swing back and forth. And I think we will start to drink a little bit more in sort of a generation or so's time.
Really interesting. Thanks so much, Ella and Esther and Simon Borkin. We have got Johnny Owen, the actor, who has set up Day Fever, which is a kind of daytime dance club on the line now. And we've been talking about this business of people not wanting to go out at night, Johnny. So you've tried to create something for the people who would have been the all-night clubbers but don't want to be out all night anymore. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's about right, really. We sort of set it up, me and my wife, Vicky McClure, who's much more well-known than I am from Line of Duty. And, we set this idea up with some friends, Jim, John and Chris, just to put a day sort of event on in Sheffield. This is Christmas 2023, and it sold out straight away when you've heard it. Our idea was it was a classic nightclub, with great music inside the building, and people could get along and have a good time. And like I said, it sold out straight away, and we were a bit surprised and thought maybe it was a one-off and, for Christmas. But then we tried it in other cities, and over the last 2 years, we've pretty much sold out everywhere we've gone. I mean, this weekend, for argument, we're in Cardiff, Glasgow and Manchester, thousands of tickets sold. And, the majority of the audience are women. It's over sort of 80% women, I'd say, and they love it. They feel safe.
Why is that?
I think I think you're right, and something you just touched on, really. I think as you get older, certainly for me, and my wife says this, I mean, town centres just get worse, don't they, as the night goes on? I mean, the transport, the food, everything just sort of, I don't know, just gets worse, as I said.
Why is it all women? Sorry. What I can see.
I think they just feel safe. I think they just like going out in the day of a certain age. You know, I think they go out, they go out with their friends. You're home by sort of, it finishes by 8 o'clock, so you're home by 8, 9 o'clock. You know, you can watch Strictly or Match of the Day. You can have a curry, and everybody just sort of has a good time. And I think that's the thing. We've been genuinely surprised, Winifred, by how much with the reaction we've had of people just going, we love this, you know, we have a great time. And, you know, all the things, the modern words that people talk about, mental health, getting together with people, all those important things about socialising, meeting people, interacting, dancing. It's true. You know, when people go to these events, when people go to Day Fever, they all leave in feeling energised, enjoying it. And I think that's the most important thing of it.
What does it cost to go?
Well, we've kept it on purpose. I'm really interested in listening to all the conversations earlier. We literally kept it at sort of £10, £11 a ticket. And we only charge £15 in London because the venue told us nobody trusts an event in London for only £10.
They think it's a scam.
Yes, exactly. So we did that, you know. And listen, we started by saying it's going to be for over 30s, but we had so many people saying they wanted to go with their mums and their aunties and sisters that we just made it any age. But it does tend to be between the ages of about 35, and we've had people with their 80th birthdays at events as well. And the music is all the classic songs you'd hear in a wedding, I say. You know, you are going to hear Come On Eileen. There's nobody that'll go in there pretending or thinking it's going to be cool in any way. It's going to be great music, great album. But the big thing is, interesting, what you the people just talking, the venues love us, Winifred, because the bar takings are through the roof.
I was just going to say, do people drink much? But they do.
They do. I think it's a different generation, as you said. You know, they tend to drink a lot, so the venues really like us. I mean, some people go there and they just dance, which is great. But some people do go there and they have a few drinks and they enjoy themselves. And I think that's why it's kind of almost like the perfect storm of Day Fever. You go to a venue, it's packed, the music's great. You can go and have a drink if you want. You can go with your friends. We don't put any sort of we've kept ticket prices down. You can go with as many people as you want. So the idea is to make it as much of a social event as anything, really. And I'm delighted with the feedback we've had from so many women saying they just feel safe, they feel seen. You know, they can go with their friends and have a good time. And I think that's supposed to be the most rewarding thing for us about it all.
There are so many reasons, aren't there, to want to dance? It sounds to me like what you're honing in on is that just that genuine pleasure thing, the same thing you would get as that woman who said she joined in COVID, you know, a Scottish country dancing club. The other thing that drove us out to nightclubs in the days before social media was that we wanted to meet people, we wanted to find a partner, didn't we? Do you think with dating apps that's kind of gone?
Yeah, there's definitely a different thing with the younger generation. They meet people through apps. We've been genuinely sort of heartened by how many people have said they've met at Day Fever events. We've had marriage proposals on stage, all sorts. You know,
there are not many men. Are they all the same sex?
Well, the men were there. I'm amazed more men haven't worked it out yet because women. Oh God, it's like I think that, you know, we've had a lot of people saying they've met, you know, people that they've entered relationships with now since they've come to events. So there is that thing where, you know, you can go and you can have a dance and you can go and just meet somebody in a very traditional way. You know, you can ask them to dance and have a chat to them, you know, in person. It sounds so strange saying this, that you can speak to people in real life almost at these events, and I think that's something very different, I think, in the modern way of dating. And again, we're really pleased with that. People have said to us they've met people in, like I said, a courting now, as we'd say.
How old are you, Johnny? You're not old enough to use the word courting, are you? Sure?
I am. I'm 54 now.
Gosh, you so don't look it. I suppose I'm just remembering you as you were in Shameless.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, I've aged a bit since then, I think. I mean, all those old words when you felt like, you know, the smooch at the end, we said the smooch, the slow dance, you know, all that kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, those words. So bring them back. I say, remember slogging, kissing, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So if you want to revisit that, you can go to Day Fever. This might be a good moment to bring in Matthew Brooke, because he is a DJ and a dance music promoter. He's in Shrewsbury. So Matthew, you know, listening to Johnny Owen, what is it like now trying to do a traditional? I don't know if you still do it. It used to be a night time, didn't it? Then an all-night event, yeah. And now people are wanting to dance in the afternoon and be in bed by 10.
No, thank you for having me. Yeah, firstly, just to echo what Johnny said, and well done, Johnny, with Day Fever. It's been a fantastic success. I've seen it, how it's sort of evolved over the past couple of years, so well done.
Thank you.
I do more smaller events in the Shrewsbury area, seasonal sessions, run SY1. It has changed. I think the thing that, I'm not sure it was brought up initially, but when the smoking ban came in 2006, 2007, that changed how people went to the pubs. There was a definite decline in the numbers going. But fast forward to today, it is harder for people going out. Day events are the way forward now because of the demographic of people who go out. So, as Johnny said, sort of the late 30s, the 40s, into the 50s, they're like the core group now.
I was thinking that, Matthew, some of this is demographics, isn't it? Because it's always been the case that the older people go to the matinees at the theatre because when you're older, you don't want to drive in the dark. Yeah, that kind of thing.
No, and another thing that's changed why people don't go out so much at night now is, particularly around Shrewsbury, maybe other towns and cities, gentrification. The problem now is more and more people are now moving and living in town centres, and this is causing a lot of issues with venues because more and more noise complaints are coming in. So a lot of venues that I work with have constant noise complaints from neighbours who live nearby, and it's always the case that the council will always side with the residents rather than the venues who've been there a long time before. So a lot of venues now are on their last warnings, which means sometimes they have to reduce sound levels. Some venues have decibel readers in the venues. So when we've heard recently about Keir Starmer saying that we should extend opening hours for a lot of venues, you can't do that because they have to shut by a certain time because of the noise restrictions that are already in place.
Johnny Owen, do you find that? Because looking at the list of places where you are going to be playing in the run-up to Christmas, I noticed that you're in the Baltic Triangle in Liverpool. Now, that is one of those areas, the Northern Quarter in Manchester. They're areas where there are a lot of flats and apartments. Do you have that problem with noise or not?
We're quite lucky, really. We're in venues that, sort of are established. And Matthew's right. The problem is that, if we're in the day, so we're okay in that respect.
Of course you are.
But you hear a lot of stories about this, where sort of people are kind of, traditional venues. Suddenly there's a block of flats moving opposite and people moving opposite, and they complain. And I've seen this happen in my hometown of Merthyr Tydfil, where there was a venue that shut because in a very traditional venue because somebody was complaining, and that can be a problem, I think. But it's interesting what Matthew was just saying. When I set up these events, Day Fevers, the art of being a DJ and an MC and controlling the crowd, it's a real skill, and you watch it and you see these people, and I'm like, I've been amazed really when you see it's like it's a proper industry. I hate this term when they talk about our sort of media and entertainment industry in Britain, soft power, the soft power we have. It's a proper power. We've done this for years, gone out clubbing, our music, our filming, all these things are really important to part of like our culture and who we are. And I think the big thing that's happened with Day Fever, Matthew touched on the way town centres were. We grew up, we started in youth clubs, we went and then we went clubbing. There's a kind of thing we did with age, and we learned. And I think what Day Fever did in particular is people recognised where they were. People went into our events and went, I know where I am here. I know the music. I know what it is to be around this. And it would break my heart to lose this. It's the same with pubs, nightclubs. A little piece of me dies really when a pub goes, because I think because of the reputation of alcohol and drinking, and I get all the health stuff and a new generation being fit. But my father's a great example. My father worked underground. He was an industrial worker all his life. He went to the pub most nights. I've never seen him drunk. Merry a few times, yeah, but he socialised with his friends. He lived to a grand old age. He knew his friends would be in the pub. He always socialised them. I think these things are super important. Pubs, clubs, us going out socialising, whether it be if it needs to be earlier, great. I'm a massive advocate of people going out and interacting with other human beings in an environment that's positive, where you can dance, you can talk, you can do whatever you need to do. I think it's so important we keep those things going as best we possibly can. I really do.
Johnny Owen and Matthew Brook, thanks both so much for that. This is Call You and Yours, the weekly consumer phone-in from Radio 4. I'm Winifred Robinson. We want to hear from you about your social life today. Has it changed in recent years? And if it has, why is that? Call us 03700 100 444. Now, our next two callers, they really feed into what Johnny Owen's just been saying about younger people, wanting to be healthy, and you don't need to get drunk to have a good time. Sky is in Manchester and Sam Watson is in Weymouth. Sam, you run something called the Dry Dock Pub. Tell us about that.
I do, yes. So the Dry Dock was a project that I started about 2.5 years ago with the aim to support people predominantly after COVID to get back into the real world and socialise in an alcohol-free environment. So the idea is we're an alcohol-free pub, we're a live music venue, we're a community hub to support around mental health and support around socialising. And what Johnny just said a minute ago really plays into what we deliver as a project, is that it's about people being able to do all of those things around socialising and getting up and dancing and being part of the community. And we've set it in an alcohol-free environment for various reasons. Go on.
Just let me bring in Sky. Sky, what do you do?
I work at Hinterland in Manchester, which is a alcohol-free bar and a vegan kitchen, also a community hub. So it sounds very similar to what Sam's doing. But yeah, up in Manchester.
Sam, can I ask you, is it possible to make money from what you're doing? Because I know that many of these dry bars that opened closed, and what they said about it was that where alcohol is moreish, people will sit all night and drink a non-alcoholic. They'll nurse one non-alcoholic drink, that there's no profit in it.
So I completely agree. There is no profit in it. So that's one of the reasons that we set up our project as a community interest business. So the whole idea was that it's out there to support the community rather than making money.
But you cover your costs, Sam.
We do cover our costs, and we're at the point now that we're about to become a charity.
I see, yeah.
We've moved in the other direction. So rather than we haven't made any profits at all in the time that we've been open, and we have relied on donations from our local community and some grant funding and that side of things. But we have been able to make the project work for 2 years. And now we're in a place where we can go to the Charities Commission and prove the positive work that we're doing to support our community, and we're in that place of becoming a charity.
Sky, how big is the vegan cafe and non-alcoholic bar that you are working in?
It's quite a small venue underneath the ground in the Northern Quarter. It's actually underneath the Buddhist Centre in the Northern Quarter of Manchester. So, it's sort of hard to come by if you didn't know it was there, but you go underneath and then, it's kind of a long, thin bar. And then in the back, we've got a kind of snug area and a performance space for our events.
And is it busy?
Yeah. We obviously, as all hospitality places, it ebbs and flows, but our events are selling out. We're having poetry events and music events that are filling the room, and some more alternative events like philosophy nights and like guest speakers coming in. That again, we're getting sellouts.
Again,
and
Sky,
free tickets.
Yeah, they sound like some of the things that people used to do. Or still do in village halls, rather than in city centres. Do you know if the people who own the business you work in are making any money from it, or even covering the costs?
It's also a community interest company, and we've been open. Yeah, so we've been open just a year, so we're really in the new of it, figuring out how it's working. But we are covering costs well and doing really well, and it looks like the trajectory of where we're going is similar to Sam. Like we're heading in a really great direction. So it's really positive. Tell
me what difference it makes being a community interest company. I know that means that your primary purpose is to serve the community rather than to serve shareholders. But even so, you must have to make some money. Does it mean you can apply for grants?
Yeah, definitely. So there's quite a lot of grants available at the moment in Manchester that are around sort of creative communities who are willing to give big pots of money to people who are holding community spaces. It just means that we're not our aim is to not make profit. We also relied on sort of volunteers, and we have a hub of people who really want to be involved and are willing to give their time to help it. So we have some volunteers who help, but also paid members of staff, and that's amazing in the first year, I think.
So you do wonder, don't you, if we were talking to the Minister with responsibility for this bit of the economy on You and Yours yesterday, you do wonder, don't you, if the big worry about the loss of pubs as meeting spaces is in poorer areas where there are no other community spaces, but also in rural areas where the pub is this kind of social hub, and you do wonder whether many more of them won't need money from local residents, generous local residents, as we're just hearing in Manchester, or won't need money from public funding from grants. What do you think, Sam?
I think I agree, and one of the directives of Dry Dock was to create that space and that community space. When I was a landlord when I was a lot younger, and I managed pubs, and I felt that in rural Dorset. And I think that from a funding point of view, it is going to need to be subsidy that comes from somewhere. My take on it was that there's no reason why we can't do exactly those things, but in an alcohol-free environment, to support people who don't want to partake in alcohol. There's quite a lot of nighttime economy that goes along with alcohol use and alcohol misuse, and by stepping away from that, we're able to support a wider group of people within our community, people who wouldn't go to conventional pubs because of some of those issues.
Sam, Sky, thanks so much for coming on. Thank you both. We've got a couple of callers now whose social life has never been better. Ruth Baker is in Bishop Auckland in Durham, and Deborah Murphy is in Liverpool. Deborah, I know that you left London for Liverpool 3 years ago. Tell us what's happened with your social life since.
Oh, it hasn't been better. It's been great. The access to different gigs, venues, to go and see live music is just so good. We're out every week, I'd say, going to a different gig in Liverpool and Manchester.
Why wouldn't you? Why is it better in Liverpool? When London, you always think of that as just such a wonderful place for places to go.
It's just so busy, and so the tubes are so busy to get around. It's just not as easy. Liverpool's, you can drive there within 15 minutes. You can be at a gig. I can drive home. I can park easily. It's just a lot more accessible in Liverpool. I drive to Manchester. It takes me 45 minutes. Just book into a car parking place, and it's easy. It's not crowded. It's not too many people. It's just a lot easier.
I sometimes wonder if all that rush of London is the reason why people are less likely to speak to you. Do you find you strike up friendships more easily?
Definitely in Liverpool. There's a great pub called Roscoe Head. It's just fantastic. It's this little pub with all these little rooms in and stuff. It's so friendly there. You know, guaranteed you're going to go there and you're going to chat to someone, which for us is great because we don't know many people in Liverpool. So, and I'm very sociable. So I love chatting to people, whereas in London, there's definitely a barrier. I'm not saying that people are rude. They're just used to being in their own kind of bubble and they don't really chat to people they don't know. They're not as friendly.
Ruth, tell us what's been happening with you, because I know that your social life has really improved since you stopped working. Tell us about that.
Definitely. What happened, I was in secretarial and I also worked in schools. I was a qualified Montessori teacher, but I moved on, to older ages. But I got in a rut in my 50s with voluntary work. Nobody wanted older workers. But then I was offered paid work as a teacher, and I was asked to stay on. But when I retired, I thought, da-da, I'm going to start living. And I moved up north, one or two of my family lived up here. I go tea room dancing. I had a booklet, a book published for short stories, poems and things like that. It wasn't really to make money. I belong to a writers group up here in Bishop Auckland. And the other thing is the U3A.
The University of the Third Age.
Yes, yeah. It's marvellous. They go overseas. Well, I have been overseas in Canada, lived in Zimbabwe. And
for people who don't know about it, Ruth, the University of the Third Age, it's where people who have a skill or a knowledge or an expertise, they share it with others, don't they?
They do, yes, yeah. All sorts of things. I've taken up French and artwork. The other thing I really enjoy, now I'm retired, is artwork. I do watercolours, and we have an exhibition. It's open, anyone can go in. And once a year they have the Town Hall exhibition, open exhibition.
It sounds like a wonderful life, Ruth. Deborah, Deborah, have you developed any new skills?
I do a lot more cooking. So
why is that, do you think?
I've got more time and I'm not so stressed out. So I was quite stressed out in London.
That's so interesting. Thanks both so much for that, Deborah and Ruth.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you. Well, thank you. We've unpicked a lot of stuff, haven't we, today? And just another couple of ideas from the emails and text. This is from Jan. I'm an ex-NHS nurse. Another reason people don't want to go out for late nights these days is that they have no energy left. Day jobs are so much more demanding and people are so much more tired. This one from Andrew Leeson Barrow, just echoing what some of our callers said. In my 40s, I discovered parkrun. We've been talking about these kind of social sports events. To be honest, it has changed my life so much for the better. There are so many health benefits, so many social benefits. Pete Brown, you've been helping us out today with your specialist knowledge of this whole sector. Can you see us ever going back to the way things used to be, that more spontaneous social life? Sometimes when you think about the pandemic and the lockdowns, we talk about how much they changed us, but it was a short period, wasn't it? And some of those changes, like working from home, they seem to be going back. We're creatures of habit. Do you think we've really changed and we'll never go back?
I don't think we'll never go back now. I mean, the pub has been around for about 1,000 years, and I don't think it's going to go away just now. But also, something that came up quite a lot today is the need for sociability. There's a loneliness epidemic happening in society at the moment, and the people who are loneliest are people in their 20s and 30s. We're getting so kind of isolated and siloed in our existence. And it's great to hear all the different events that are non-pub related, like running and walking and stuff. But the pub's just such an easy way to just go and be with other people, and it has genuine effects for mental health.
Thanks so much, Pete Brown, for being with us today. And thank you everyone who got in touch and came on. It's always just so good to take a snapshot, isn't it, of our behaviour, and we can only do that with your help. There will be another phone in next week. There's loads of interesting stuff in the programme tomorrow, including people moving house and the problems you can have when you exchange contracts and the moving date is too close.